Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well today. There was an incredible auction hosted by Phillips and it was called the Racing Pulse auction. This occurred in New York City on the 12th of December 2020, and I've been watching it the whole day. I'm actually filming this right after the auction, and I wanted to just talk through some of the really cool lots that I really loved and kind of discuss their estimates and what they ended up going for. So I'm going to be talking about 10 of the lots that I enjoyed watching, and also think they were incredible pieces to actually sell in this auction. A couple of the big themes that came out of this auction were that sports watches or sportier watches are definitely hot right now. They have been hot and they will continue to be in demand by collectors. And the other thing has to do with provenance. There are a couple of lots that had were owned by very famous individuals, and these were obviously in demand as well. And there were some really cool records that were broken and made. And so I'm going to be talking about the 10 lots. Before we get into that, I actually want to give a quick shout out to this shirt right here. This is actually from a company called Gray and Patina. If you don't know them, check them out on Instagram because they do have some really incredible watches. This is a shirt that they sold, and I was actually gifted it, and I'm going to show you the back of it because it's actually a very cool shirt. You can see here. It says Vintage Watch Hunter on it, and I thought that was a really cool shirt. I was actually gifted this by a friend and a client of Life on the Wrist, and I thought it was really cool. So check out Gray and Patina if you are interested in this shirt. Also, we'll give a shout out to our shirt while we're doing this. This is a Life on the Wrist shirt. This is our launch collection shirt. You've probably seen us wear this a couple of times in our videos, but it basically just has the Life on the Wrist logo on it, and then on the back, on the neck, it has a little bit of text, and it basically just says launch collection on the neck, which I think is a subtle detail on this shirt that I really like. And it was a really cool thing that I got to design, which I really enjoyed the whole process of that. So check it out on our website. We are selling these. And we only have a couple left, so if you want to get your hands on them, definitely get your hands on them. And then we're going to actually be releasing some really cool merchandise coming up that you can be a part of, so stay tuned for that. While I kind of get back to the Racing Pulse auction that just took place today that I was following, the kind of central theme with this auction had to do with obviously racing and driving, but there were some other lots that were really cool. There were some lots that were for charity. They were donated to One Drop, and then there were also some others from some very famous individuals like Sylvester Stallone, Paul Newman, the mechanic of famous race car driver Steve Mcqueen. So there's some really interesting lots around there, and I'll probably get into some of them in a second. So I'll just jump into the first one that I really thought was a really cool watch. This is lot number 6. This is the Audemars Piguet Reference 259020R. This is a really interesting, a very interesting version of the Royal Oak. This is the Royal Oak Automatique Tourbillon. It's in 18 karat pink gold, and this was actually created, sold in 2010. This watch has a really interesting dial. It's a like I said, it's a pink gold watch with a skeletonized tourbillon dial. It has a power reserve, date indicator, obviously the integrated bracelet from Audemars Piguet, and comes with just everything, box, paper, certificates, original receipt from being sold at the Audemars Piguet boutique in New York City. It basically comes with everything. What I thought was really cool about this watch is it actually doesn't have a crown. There is actually a little thing on the back that you will use to wind this piece, which I thought was really unique and not something that is very common with Royal Oaks, obviously. I actually really like the way that this looks because it actually gives it somewhat symmetry. when you look at it, which I think is really cool. The estimate was between 60,000 and 120,000 US dollars. This sold for 352,800 US dollars, so well above the estimates. I think with a watch that is so rare like this, you know, it's fairly clear that this is a hot one. I mean, it was for the 25th anniversary to celebrate the Rolex Automatic Tourbillon to be released. So a very cool 1 minute tourbillon cage. So a really cool lot, and I'm glad that this sold a portion of the, it was sold to benefit the One Drop Foundation, which was also you know, obviously a great cause. The second lot that I thought was really cool was lot number 12. This was the Zenith Reference SP 1301. This is basically an El Primero chronograph with a date function at between 4 and 5 o'clock. This was, I think the biggest thing that really stood out on this one is the amount of patina that were on those subdials, as well as the outside tachymeter ring. It's basically what one would describe as a tropical dial. The watch itself comes in its original presentation box, has all the literature and booklets that accompany it. This one estimated to go between 4,000 and 6,000 US dollars, and it actually sold for 37,800. I think this is a perfect example of what I said earlier about this auction really showing that sports watches are hot and will continue to be very popular within the collector market. Especially when it comes to like these interesting dials, like a tropical dial on this Zenith El Primero. I mean, it's still an incredible watch from the 1970s, 37 millimeters in diameter. It has that the caliber 3019 movement in it. So you know, it is basically your typical Zenith El Primero, but a very interesting dial that really, you know, made it fetch a premium. The next watch I wanted to discuss was Oriel Box. He mentioned this when this lot came up, but this is it was lot number 17. The reference was 6350 from Rolex. This is the Rolex Explorer, and this is, in his mind, one of the best examples of the 6350 that he's really come across. You know, gilt honeycomb dial, bracelet is original with original box, provenance letters. This watch dates to 1953, 36 millimeters in diameter. It's a time-only watch, but it has it's basically the perfect example of a Rolex Explorer. This lot was estimated to go between 50,000 and 90,000 US dollars, and it sold for 126,000, so beating estimates by around 27,000. It is, like Oriel Box said, one of the best examples of the 6350 that he's held, and I completely agree with it. All original. I think even the crystal was original on this, which I think is really amazing. Moving forward to one of the hottest lots, I think, in this auction, and that was lot number 20. This is the historic Heuer Reference 1133. This was a gift from Steve Mcqueen at Le Mans in 1972. Haig Altunian. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. But this watch, like I said, was a gift from Steve Mcqueen to his mechanic in 1970. This watch dates to 1969 and is 39 millimeters square case. It's your typical Heuer Monaco that you see. They played a really cool video where they kind of interviewed Mr. Altunian, and on the back of the watch, you know, they showed pictures of this as well, but it says to Haig Le Mans 1970. And I think this really shows, like, this is the ultimate tool watch given to the person who was in charge of all the tools. This watch didn't actually have an estimate that was published. It was estimated on request. It ended up selling for a whopping 2.2 million US dollars. I think the provenance of this, you know, a typical 1133 is not going to go for this much, but because of where it came from, the story behind it, it fetched a record price for any Heuer Monaco. I think it's amazing that these watches are coming up and people are looking to collect them. Whoever bought this, I really hope that they're a massive Heuer collector. I mean, just thinking about like the story behind it, but then you look at the dial and it's just absolutely beautiful. The blue with that inner circle where for the time, but the case is square. It's an interesting contrast and really shows, like, you know, sports watches are popular and they will remain popular. Moving forward to one of the other fairly historic and iconic lots of this auction, and that was lot number 38. This was the Rolex 6263. This was the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona. It's nicknamed the Big Red. This is a non-Paul Newman Daytona with a black dial and white subdials. The reason why this was such an iconic lot is because this watch belonged to none other than Paul Newman. This was a gift from his wife, I believe. And again, if you turn the watch over like any other watch that we've seen from Paul Newman, it is inscribed with "Drive slowly" and signed by his wife. Again, like, you know, obviously there was the Paul Newman Daytona that was sold for record prices, and now there's another 6263 that came up during this auction. The estimate on this watch was in excess of 1 million, and it ended up selling for $5,475,000 US. So a huge record for this watch, and a really lucky buyer who got this. When it comes to the watch itself, you know, 1980s was when it was produced, 37 millimeters in diameter, your typical, you know, 6263, but with so much provenance, and it shows. Again, the provenance is what's really important to collectors right now, as well as kind of sportier watches is what's really catching people's attention, and has been catching people's attention for a very long time. You know, this is a perfect example. Congratulations to the new owner, and you know, congratulations to Phillips for being able to auction this off. I'm going to transition a little bit into some more, you know, I don't want to say classic pieces, but a little bit more dressier pieces, and that is actually moving into a company that was very well represented at this auction, and that was FPjorn. And this is lot number 42. This is a FPJorn. I can give you the reference really quickly. It's the October Reserve Démarche in platinum. The case number is number 1603A. It has the caliber 1300 movement in at 38 millimeters in diameter. But this is a very early example of this watch in platinum, and that's why I thought it was really interesting. You don't see these dial configurations, you know, when you're scrolling through Instagram. So an early FPjorn. This watch dates to 2003, 38 millimeters in diameter. It was estimated to go between 30,000 and 60,000 US, and it actually went for 139, if we round, 139,000 US. I think this shows the collectability of FPjorn over the last couple of years and what it really has grown into, and also simply what these watches can fetch at auction, especially if they're rare. So rarity, super important. It came with the authenticity certificate from 2017, so you know, it's just an incredible watch and a really cool looking dial. I think the kind of like gold dial with the you know, the date window, but also the time off centered like that. I think it's just a really unique looking watch, and then a beautiful movement as well. Moving forward, this is a really cool watch, and I was super excited to see this one. This was lot number 53. It's a Rolex, so I'm sorry to, you know, drum on about Rolex, but this was the Reference 16550, which is a fairly rare stainless steel version of the Explorer II. This one has kind of like an ivory dial, which I think is very, very uncommon. And then if you look at the bezel insert, you can see it's not your common white dial Explorer bezel insert. This one was actually sold to benefit the Institute for Digital Archaeology, which I thought was cool. The watch dates to 1987, 39 millimeters in diameter. Obviously it has the GMT hand. you know, running on the caliber 3085, which is an earlier version of the 3185 movement. But, you know, when it comes to Rolex, you're getting basically a tool movement. You're getting a very robust movement that's going to last you very, very long. This one was estimated to sell between 8,000 and 12,000. It actually sold for 25,000. Again, shows the ability of sports watches to do very well at auction, as well as the demand for them. Yeah, just a really, I just love the dial and the contrast with the bezel, which really isn't, you know, or the bezel insert, which really isn't, it's not your typical Explorer II. Moving forward to lot number 60. This is into a fairly very, very iconic watch, and it came, I believe, from one of the best Patek Philippe collectors in Europe, is what RL Box was mentioning, and this is the Reference 3448 from Patek Philippe. This is one of the best examples of this reference. It's a yellow gold perpetual calendar with obviously moon phase at 6 o'clock, has everything, original certificates, original box. And if you turn the watch over, you can see that it was a gift from Ellie to Theodore Rubin, who was a doctor. This watch was purchased or manufactured in 1966, 37.5 millimeters in diameter, an extremely iconic and well-preserved example of this reference. If you just like looking at if you look at it from the profile side and you're looking into the crown, you can just see the finishing on each of the edges of the watch are super sharp, which I think is incredible. It was estimated to go between 150 and 300,000 US dollars, and it sold for 529,000 US dollars. An incredible feat, and congratulations to the new owner for this incredibly well-preserved example. Onto the second to last lot that I wanted to talk about. This was again from FPjorn. There were some other FPjorn lots that really did well, but this is lot number 101. This is the FPjorn. FPjorn, it's a flyback chronograph in pink gold, an extremely rare version. I don't believe many of these were created. The case is number 143. It's running off the caliber 1300. Like I said, pink gold, 38 millimeters. An incredible watch. It has that similar off-center time date, close to between 11 and 12 o'clock, but obviously the main attraction is a flyback chronograph. You don't see a lot of chronographs from FPjorn on people's wrists, and this is a very, very rare example of it. It was estimated to go between 60,000 and 120,000. It ended up selling for 252,000 US dollars. So killing estimates. I personally put this into this video because I love chronographs. Chronographs are one of my favorite complications, and this execution is great. I will say the one thing I wish is that the chronograph hand was a little bit larger, a little bit thicker. It's kind of very, very thin. Maybe if you have it in your hands, it might look a little different, but from the pictures, it just looks a little thin. But a really great lot, and congratulations to the new owner. And then the last one I wanted to talk about was the lot number 137. This was the second to last lot, just before they ended up auctioning off John Lennon's and Andy Warhol's pocket watches, which again shows that there was some historic moments within this auction. But lot number 137 was a Patek Philippe 1518. This is obviously a very, very iconic watch within the watch world. This is a yellow gold perpetual calendar chronograph from Patek Philippe. The 1518 is obviously a reference that's been in auctions multiple times and is a fairly rare example. This one obviously has the tachymeter scale on the outside, comes with its presentation box. It dates to 1946 and is, like I said, 18 karat gold, 18 karat yellow gold, manual wind movement. It's the caliber 13 movement. 35 millimeters, so it fits really beautifully. I have this Le Coultre that's 35 millimeters, and I'm just imagining being able to wear the 1518. I think it would just fit perfectly on my wrist. It was estimated to go between 350,000 and 700,000 US dollars, and it sold for 504,000 US dollars. It was interesting that it was right in between the estimates. Typically 1518s normally breakthrough estimates, so good job to Phillips for really making sure your estimates were fairly accurate for this one. And obviously they have, you know, scholars and extremely knowledgeable people to to kind of go through each of these watches and identify what they want their what they want their estimates to be. So those are my 10 picks. An extremely awesome auction. It was really fun. It was fun. Today's Saturday. It took place on a Saturday, and it was really a great thing to do for the day and just watch you know, history be made, look at some really cool watches, and kind of participate in the watch community. I know the pandemic definitely changed the way the auction world has really shaped up, and I think they did an excellent job there. This was their last watch auction for 2020, so they're closing the chapter there and moving on to 2021, and I'm excited to see what watches they end up auctioning. Let me know what your favorite lot was during this auction. Maybe I didn't mention it, so be sure to put it in the comments which one you really loved. Also, if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as smash that like button for us readers, help us out. Again, a big shout out to Gray and Patina for this really cool shirt, and also don't forget to check out our launch collection t-shirts. This is one of the examples. We only have a couple of these left, so you know, get one of these before we start, before they're gone, and then we end up you know, launching some more of our you know, clothing. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.